Hey guys, how you doing? Another preview on a guitar, a 1964 Sandtron, brought to me by a new customer, Bob Gunter. I love saying Gunter. Anyway, the guitar apparently, through some research and everything else, there's only less than a dozen that have ever been found, and he happened to have one of them. Unfortunately, the poor old girl had taken a bit of a beating, and a lot of the paint was chipped off and stuff like that on the neck and the body. And Bob, deciding that he wasn't trying to fix it up to original to resell, but to keep it and pass it on through his family, wanted to know if we could take it down to its original wood and clean it up, and that's what we did. Went over all the electronics and everything else. It turns out to be quite a thing, and for 1964, where you're used to little low profile on and off switches or slides, this one in particular, the time and the money was spent on putting toggle switches in, which wasn't used a lot back then. From my understanding, the best idea of who made this was Teisco over in Japan in the 60s. Was overwhelmed with producing product for people and farmed a lot of it out to places like furniture companies to make the bodies and necks. And I guess it was known that some of them went on to try to make guitars of their own. And this has a lot of Teisco parts on it. So the story sort of follows through that they would have still had some parts left, maybe, and used them as well, or purchased them from Teisco. And but anyway, we're missing at this point on the restoration a tuning head, tuning key. And the whammy bar for this is on order. As usual with 60s guitars, it has a shorter scale length, which creates a lot of flexibility in the strings, so the playing is slightly different. You certainly don't stretch as far as you're playing, and you have to be a little careful when you're doing like full chords and so on, because you can start bending the strings easily, but by getting used to a lighter touch, you can get around it. There's a switch on the bottom here, and this switch turns out to be a treble or a bass boost. Each pickup, as you can see here, has its own tone and volume. The body is quite a unique shape. It's kind of like a SG in the sense of the horns. But there's a lot of cutouts and a lot of very thin body sort of shaping that's going on, even though the guitar in its full length, quite lengthy, is stretched out. On the top, to conform to the body, there is a lot of shaping there, and the back, as you can see, there's a cutout here. None of this was shaped by me, this was the shape, and it's mahogany body. And instead of a clear coat lacquer with a nice shine, and to cover up all the feel of the natural wood and the grain and everything, I've gone with about 6 coats of polyurethane, and then there's a maple neck on it. And if we look at the headstock, there's the Sandtron label on it. And the headstock has changed out a little bit. They have a different, or kind of a unique markers on the fretboard. This one doesn't have a truss rod or anything else. It's a reinforced neck, meaning a piece of metal that's put through the wood to hold it straight. And our starting point when we looked at the project was that the neck was really nice and straight, which meant we weren't going to deal with that. And the setup, when it was all cleaned up and everything was redone and put back together to make a nice action, was quite easy to do. On the back here, there's also a dual input. And through some conversation and some testing of my own, even though I think it could be used for many reasons, you could plug another guitar into this one and this one going into another amp, and I believe it would come through. In this case, I plugged a little clip-on mic onto it. And this mic, I'm just snapping the clamp together, is coming through the one input out of the other one and into the amp. The interesting part is this is just a cheaper acoustic sort of pickup, and when I actually add it on to the bridge, it does pick up somewhat of a different sound, an acoustic sound. It's almost like a bassier sound for some reason. Anyway, I've got the bass boost off, all the pickups are on, and if I were to take the two front pickups off and just toggle the front one on, we get that very Fender bridge sort of sound. There's a little bit of buzzing, haven't set it up yet, but I think a lot of it has to do with this style of bridge, and I'm really thinking about trying to change it out. It's basically a piece of metal that's slotted, and I think there's a lot of vibration in there. And as part of the customization, I may change that out to possibly, if I can, which I've done on earlier 60s guitars, something of a Les Paul bridge or something, if I can get it to drop onto the stand. Not only does it give you a better connection, and but it also allows movement back and forth for intonation, so you can really set it up nice. But anyway, if I pull the second pickup on, get a huge volume increase and certainly more vibration and a bassier sound. You can hear as I'm hitting the bass notes, and I'm missing the first string because that's the tuning head that's missing. You can hear that you get quite a good bass response from the top strings, but you still get that little Fender snap at the bottom. And if I turn all three on, huge volume boost and lots of bass, but still with a little bit of enthusiasm. Now, if we try that again with the bass boost and pull it up at the toggle switch, and just the back pickup on, everything gets boosted. Next pickup. To me, this leads more towards a combination of humbuckers than I heard without the bass boost, which lent more to a Fender style. All three pickups on. But there's still that bit of twang going on. You can pull all the tones down. I could do one at a time, but you know, the combination, I have a reissue 59 Airline guitar that has 3 humbuckers and has all these options. Only in the selection it has a 5-way switch. The variety of tones, the fact that you can keep the tone up on the first 2 pickups and pull it right back on the middle, and to constantly create and finesse the tone. So this is with all the tones back. It's got a very mellow, very Very sort of a jazzy. That's me pulling the tones up as I go. So, huge variety of sounds. The neck, I don't know if you can see, we've got the action. I think we're kind of seeing it here. The action is right. Pretty decent for an electric guitar. And I've only raised it because of the scale length, and there's a flexibility in the string, and they do flap a little bit. Taking the bass off. Seems to hold up on a distortion channel okay. I don't know if we got into a something. So there's all that stuff. Drop D, heavy metal. I would guess, sorry, that feedback is caused by that little mic. Anyway, I'm sure with some finessing a much better distortion channel could be found. I'm just flipping through. As a matter of fact, I have a new PV amp that I haven't really figured out yet. So, but 1964 Sandtron custom restoration for Bob Gunter. And I really still like saying Gunter for some reason. Sounds like he's a gunner for the U.S. Army or something. Well, he is on the road, just not out on the ocean. Anyway, thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you guys soon. If you look on my page, Facebook page, Rusty Dog Repairs, there's pictures and a bit of a story about this as well, and Bob. Okay guys, have a great day, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.